So once again, my name is Lawrence Light, host of Financial Independence to Small Multifamily Investing. I'm located here in the New York City area, Manhattan, and I live in the Bronx. I also have a building, a 2-unit building in the Bronx also. I'm also a contract for 8-unit building in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm also looking in the Norfolk market and Huntsville, Alabama, and also New York, right? So without further ado, oh, and also don't forget, please put your information in the chat. And without further ado, we're going to bring up my guest speaker tonight, Frank Patalano. I met Frank, this is like a while ago. We was this before, way before the pandemic. We were in a class on a Saturday out in Brooklyn, connected with Frank, and it was off and on. But lately I've been talking to Frank a lot and getting a lot of information because Frank is full of knowledge. And he's a person, he's a giver, he's a servant, and he's a cook. So thank you, Frank, for taking time from your family to come on tonight. And without further ado, Frank Patalano, welcome.
Thank you for having me, sir. I love hanging out, talking about real estate all the time. This is basically, why not, right? Hey, Angel just popped in, stuff like that. Let's see. Let me do a screen share here. Let's see. Get this running. Can you guys see that? You let me know when you can see it. I'll just keep talking until I hear something.
Yes, we can see it.
We see it.
Perfect, perfect. So obviously, one of the things I'm proud of right now is this hotel that we bought in April. Was very hard to get financing, everything else. That is my partner on it, Pedro. And obviously, I have a lot of partners. I have a lot of friends. Always love doing real estate. I actually have a lot of partners listening to this call right now. And a couple that are actually struggling to get on, but that's okay. They can see the recording later. So I kind of had a hard time thinking about what to title this. I had a few different things. So I just got working, investing, and some luck. I joke a little bit about luck. You make your own luck, but definitely working and then getting knowledge and then investing. So let's see. How do we do this? There we go. So a little bit about myself. This is my wife, Nancy. She does not care at all about real estate. She's a full-time school teacher and enjoys what she does and lets me go on all these crazy adventures without her, or she's always welcome to come, but usually passes. This is my oldest. This is Katie. She's in high school. And what was cool was the day before her first day of school, her and I went and hung out in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Went to the Whaling Museum, stuff like that. Just the two of us. Was really cool. These are my twins. They just started at the middle school over here in Rhode Island. Becky, big soccer player, loves basketball, singing. He plays the flute right now. And then PJ, he's a runner. He's karate, junior black belt, and he's also playing the trumpet right now too. So they're all active kids. I love that. I want them to, one of my dreams is that they're owners and not just consumers. You know, we're all consumers in one way or another, but not enough owners in this world. So we're working on them. They have investments. I try to get them involved in deals. 2 years ago, actually last year, I brought Katie with me up to New Hampshire, just the two of us, and we looked at a triplex that I ended up buying. So stuff like that. Some other things here, there's the Library of Congress. I took the kids to see it. Obviously, education, knowledge is so important. So we went to see that 2 years ago. This was my trip to Egypt. Pedro is in the background there. And that was a really, I wouldn't say it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I plan on being back, but it's definitely a memorable experience in many ways. And then this, for those of you that don't know, I've spoken at a few conferences, and this is Crusading for Generational Wealth. Lawrence, you were at this conference. It's the Mid-Atlantic Multifamily Investment Conference.
Yes,
put on by Jerome Myers. Great guy and great conference. Loved it a lot. Oops. So when I was a kid, I always dreamed about owning a business someday. I lived in upstate New York for a few years, and I remember one summer we had a pretty long driveway, and we dragged this big table down the driveway, and we had Fast Frank sports cards. And obviously, this was before the internet and anything else, but I learned a lot about just business stuff by starting something and trying it out. And did we make a lot of money? Heck no. But definitely built some skills that I kept using on and on. In high school, I joined a group called the Future Business Leaders of America, and I was able to compete nationally in economics and accounting. When I was a kid, my dad did not like to go on vacations. He was a lot older when he had me, and my experience for going to other places around the country was basically through FBLA, which was really nice. I competed nationally in economics in Florida, and I competed nationally in accounting in Washington, D.C. It was really cool. I wrote, sometimes life throws curveballs at you. Like I said, my dad was old when he had me. He was 56 when I was born. So he died when I was 17. He was about 72. It was just before my senior year of high school. It affected my path a little bit. I still was able to enjoy some time with him, but not as much as obviously everybody would want to with their father. For college, I had to make a choice between accounting and teaching. My girlfriend was going for teaching, and I figured I'd go that route. Plus, I was able to get a scholarship because my dad was a former police officer and died of a heart condition. So I was able to get virtually a free pass to college. So as long as I got good grades. So I was cheap and went for the teaching route. And I decided to teach history. I loved hearing old stories about the past. And it was because it was a little easier because my father was older. So I heard a lot of those old stories as a World War II vet, stuff like that. I have a lot of quotes in this. One of the quotes that I like to hear is, your salary is the bribe they give you to forget your dreams. I definitely took that path for a while. In some ways, I did not take enough risks early on. I wish I had, but I didn't. And what I did is I went to school and I got a good job, like they always tell you to do. So it worked out in some ways and didn't work out in others. In many ways, I was a workaholic. I was working part-time. And when I say part-time, I was working 25, 26 hours a week while going to school full-time. I took summer classes and graduated in 3.5 years with decent scores. And I kept that same job as a part-timer and went substitute teaching immediately. And that first year, I subbed like 170 days out of 180. And the whole next year, I got hired as a full-time teacher, and I kept that part-time job. And what's really shocking about this, and Angel knows, and a few other people on the call know, I kept that part-time job up until June. You know, even though I'm multimillionaire, gallivanting around the country, I still kept working at the job, the part-time job, even though I didn't have to. So I kept doing that. I worked 2 jobs, 5 days a week full-time and 5 days a week part-time for probably a solid 17 years. With all that working, obviously, and my wife was not a big spender, we started to accumulate some money. She was working too. So what's the next thing you have to do? You have to decide what to do with it. So you could spend, save, donate, and or invest.
Bottom 2 on the
What's the question? No, I lost it. So, like I said, you can spend, save, donate, and or invest. I like talking about those 4 things because with my kids, I have an envelope system, and those are the 4 things they get as part of their allowance every week. And so they have a little bit of spending money, a little bit of money to save, a little bit of money to donate, and they do their own donations, and a little bit of money to invest, whether it's in stock or real estate or whatever. So the first book I decided to read when I was in my mid-20s about money and investing was by Robert Kiyosaki, and everybody usually thinks it's that one book that we always talk about, but it was not Rich Dad Poor Dad. That first book was The Cash Flow Quadrant, and what it really did is it tells you about 4 different types of people. Okay, it talks about regular employees. It talks about people who are self-employed. It talks about people who own big businesses, and it talks about people who are investors. And when you think about it, a lot of people that we all know are employees. And while there's definitely benefits to being an employee, there's a lot of other benefits for those other 3 quadrants. So in the book, it says, who you spend your time with is your future. And even Jim Rohn, another quote, since I'm a big quote guy, says you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. So I remember with that part-time job, I was working at Sam's Club. And I literally, after reading that chapter of the book, I ripped off a piece of cardboard one day and I actually wrote with a marker. I wrote down my 5 closest friends, and I wrote down what they did for a living, and I wrote down what I estimated their income to be. And I realized that since they were all employees, I would have to do a little more if I wanted to grow and become an investor. So I had to decide to do a few things. So there's a little bit on my real estate journey. In 2005, I bought my own personal house. I bought at the top of the market. I still live in the house now. I still have a mortgage on it, though it's gotten a lot lower. I remember when we bought it, we paid so much for it that when it dropped, we had a larger than a 25% drop in our area. So I was actually underwater, even though I put down 25% down, which I know is unheard of in today's day and age as well. I also took my first risk. I bought a vacant lot in an auction in New York City, which was a bad idea. I ended up losing about $20,000 on that deal. It's one of those things where you don't know how much you don't know. You read a few books about land, and you're like, oh yeah, I can definitely do this, no problem. I thought about building a house on it, maybe flipping it, stuff like that. And in the end, I just lost some money because of I didn't know enough. I didn't have enough knowledge. Lucky for me, I got into smaller multifamily real estate. In 2009, I bought my first triplex. I have some pictures of it later to show you a little bit about it. And then 2010, I bought 2. But it got to the point, I wasn't necessarily super creative. And it got to the point, what do? I just spent all my cash. I put down 3 down payments of 20 or 25% on 3 different properties. So and plus I was working 7 days a week. So I had to decide to partner and started my first partnership. I bought 50-50 with a friend. He was a member of my local RIA. He's still a member, and we still own about 5 properties together. And we bought, 1 or 2 properties that year, and it worked out pretty well. And then every year after that, I tried to buy, 1 or 2 deals a year, all small stuff, either small multis or a single family, or even a small commercial building, stuff like that. I've tried other things. I did some tax sales. I did some hard money lending. I've had a new house built, new construction, stuff like that. But I kept coming back to multifamily real estate as my main way in which I wanted to invest. And don't forget, I was teaching at the time, and every year teaching, while I love teaching, there was always problems. It's a hard job. I know you get summers off, and I always hear about that, but there's a lot of pressure between what the school wants, what the administration wants, what the parents want, what the kids deserve, and it was a lot of work. So, at some point I decided to invest in something else, and I mainly focused on learning about syndications, which is sort of like JV, but you have a group of active partners and you have a group of limited passive partners. And basically you work the deals, and you find a good deal and you work at it, you're active in it, and then you have other people invest with you. So in 2019, I invested as a limited partner in about 5 syndications. And I was really ramping up. That was actually the year I left teaching. And it says right there, I left my full-time job to manage my portfolio and to work on other projects. What are the projects? So there's some pictures of some of the projects on the side. I started a podcast with a friend called the Cashflow Kings. Started a virtual assistant business with another friend, Real Agent Helper. Quahog Capital is my syndication business. And then Best Resorts Punta Cana is the hotel that we didn't buy till this year. So think about it. I was able to leave my full-time job through a combination of cash flow. My wife decided to keep working. I think she doesn't have to, but she's more conservative than I am and is worried about medical coverage. So, and she doesn't care about real estate anyway. So it worked out that what happened, COVID hit. So 2020, she was able to work from home. I was home and doing stuff here or there with deals, and the 3 kids were home. So I was able to help the 3 kids a little bit with education. And then my wife actually went back to work to teach in school. They work in a different district, and I stayed home with the kids. It was awesome that I was able to stay home with the kids. And it would have been very tough if I was teaching at one district, she was teaching somewhere else, and the kids would not be able to be home by themselves. So it really worked out. In 2020, I was able to be a general partner in 2 syndications. Also did about 5 fix and flips that year and sold a few single families. 2021, I was able to do a deal with Angel in Wichita Falls. I was also a limited partner on a few other deals, and I started to buy some rentals in New Hampshire. And then this year, so far, we did the hotel deal, another GP deal, and I joint ventured a few duplexes. So got to do something in my free time. So what did I do? So one of the quotes that I really love, one of my favorite quotes is, give a man a fish, he can eat for a day, teach a man to fish, and he can eat for a lifetime. So obviously, I had to figure out a way to actually learn about this business. And when I first started, it was before Bigger Pockets or anything else. So what did I do? I asked around, I read some books, and I learned and joined my local RIA. I started to look at properties, and obviously, I kept working a lot. W-2 style is what I wrote. Was I growing? Yes. But could I have done a lot quicker? Absolutely. There's a lot of people that I know that have grown a lot faster than I did. And they're bigger hustlers than I am too, in a good way. So obviously there are people on this call that still, work a full-time job. I'm sure many of you would want to leave that job forever if you could, maybe now or 5 or 10 years from now. We all know, though, there's many people that it's not just real estate, but they're going to work for the rest of their lives because they have to, not because they want to. Why did it take me so long? I was working enough, but as we know, hard work does not equal success. Here's some pictures of that first 3-family or triplex that I bought. I bought it as a foreclosure. It was on MLS. I overpaid for it at the time. Now, obviously, in today's numbers, I got a deal, but I'm sure I could have got it for less money. This is, I don't know if you can see the side here. This is a slanted ceiling. The door, the openings are still interesting, and definitely an older style. I was renting this unit. This was the first floor. This unit, when I bought it, was $675. I think right now it's renting for $1,250. And this unit was renting for $600, I think, when I first bought it. So why did it take me so long? Well, number one, I really didn't have any goals, and I did not have enough good habits. I'm a little bit of a gamer, so I spent a little bit too much time gaming. I definitely was not working out, doing any kind of exercise. I was doing a little bit of reading, which was a good thing. I enjoy reading, so that helped. But like I said, the main thing, I could have grown a lot quicker if I had set some goals and set some habits. So how did I figure this out? My wealth was growing, but I was working 7 days a week, so that wasn't necessarily cool, but anyway. So when I was teaching, there was a book that they gave us, and they said, we want you to teach this during a small block of time every day to the kids. And the book was called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens by Stephen Covey's son, Sean. The main book that you guys could read is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a great book. It puts things in perspective, and it talks a lot about habits. This is one of my favorite poems from the book. I actually like to read it once in a while, and I'm going to read it right here. It's called Who Am I? And I want you guys to think about this. Some of you might know this answer already, but it's asking, what is this that I'm reading about? So, who am I? I am your constant companion. I am your greatest helper or your heaviest burden. I will push you onward or drag you down to failure. I am completely at your command. Half the things you do, you might as well turn over to me, and I will be able to do them quickly and correctly. I am easily managed, but you must merely be firm with me. Show me exactly how you want something done, and after a few lessons, I will do it automatically. I am the servant of all great men, and alas, of all failures as well. Those who are great, I made them great. Those who are failures, I made them failures. I am not a machine, though I work with all the precision of a machine, plus the intelligence of a man. You may run me for profit or run me for ruin. It makes no difference to me. Take me, train me, be firm with me. I will put the world at your feet. Be easy with me and I will destroy you. Who am I? So I'll take a moment right now. Does anybody, maybe they've read the book or just a guess? Anybody have any idea who
Your
I am?
habits?
Yes, habit. Good job. I can't see who actually said that, but yeah. I didn't make this poem. This was a poem, and at the end, it says, I am habit, but I took that off so that people could guess. You know, it's a very powerful poem. I think it's so powerful, that's why I had to put it in the presentation. I did not write it. So, like I said, I bought a property or two every year or so. This is a beautiful 2-family that I have near the colleges in Rhode Island. This is a single family flip that one of my friends redid this bathroom. That looks amazing. We ripped that entire thing out from scratch. I didn't lift a finger. I'm not the handy person, but I definitely paid for that to look that way. And we flipped the house, which was really nice. This was another triplex that we bought. This was a commercial building that we still own today. I have 2 partners on it in Rhode Island. This is a 9-unit that I walk by on my daily walks that I own with a partner. And it's a good habit thing that I check the property every day by walking by it. And then this is a part of a 72-unit complex that I own with Angel and Kay Trevor and a few other people on the call. So there you go. Let's see, keep going along. Talking about habits, I was hanging out at a friend's house and we walked through his little desk area. This was in 2018. And I saw this written down. I don't know what book he read it from. I'm sure it comes from a book, but he called it his Power 5. And I actually said, hey, can I take a picture of this? And this was his habit of what to do. So I just thought it was very powerful. And what I did in 2019 was I built my own habits that I wouldn't say I'm necessarily good on it this year, but it did help me build some habits long term. So in 2019, I called it BEARS. I tried to think of some acronym, and then I made all these together. So in 2019, what I was supposed to do every week is at least 5 times a week, I was supposed to do business and branding, which means make a post at least 5 times a week about one of my brands. Exercise 5 times a week. Analyze 5 deals a week. Read at least a half an hour 5 times a week. And spend time with family, an hour or so here or there, at least 5 times a week. By the way, this was when I was still working a full-time job and a part-time job. And also, why not just throw in some punishment too? I lost 50 pounds at that from January till June 30th of that year. So it was pretty much a success in many ways. Somewhere on Instagram, I gave myself grades for all the different parts, and I think most of them were A minuses and B pluses. So it was pretty cool. Habits, very powerful. So with habits, one of the things I figured out was set goals and then build habits to get there. Write them down. And Mr. International, you're going to love this. Commit to your goals, not try, just do it. And team up. And one example of teaming up might be having an accountability partner. Lawrence, you like that? Not try?
I love it. You saw me, man. Yeah, don't try.
I can't see you guys at all. I got this presentation on full screen.
Yes, I love that, Frank. Yes, I love it.
There you go. Thank you. So I wrote some examples of goals versus habits. A goal is that if you want to own 25 units by the end of this was 2020 when I first wrote this, make an offer a day. You know, if you want to read 15 books this year, read 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. If you want to build that team, Jeffrey Pine this to you. If you want to build a team, make 2 phone calls a day to build that team. So stuff like that. So one of the things I like talking about is risk. There are many people that do not take enough risks in their life. I'm not talking about jumping out of an airplane at this moment, but you're going to fail once in a while. If you never fail, I honestly believe that you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Who knows what you can achieve if you set high goals. So I have a friend, he always sets massive goals. And even if he doesn't make it, he still comes so much further than what he originally would have done if he had no goals. So have I lost money in deals before? Yes. Do I like to do it? Absolutely not. But at the same point, too many people are waiting for that perfect property. If I was waiting for that perfect property, I still probably would have not bought a property yet. Every property has problems. Your job is to try to find solutions to them. So examples of taking risk. I gave an example of like an 11-year-old child or toddler. He or she is starting to walk for that first time. They'll probably fall down. But did they give up on walking? No. People that ride bikes, usually they fall off once in a while. And real estate's the same way. You have to educate yourself a lot and then take some small calculated risks, whether it's with a partner or with a coach, just through education on your own, through networking. Take some risk, get out there. You know, so many people that I know said, oh my God, I wish I got a real estate 5 years ago. Stuff like that. Well, here's another quote for you, Lawrence. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. You know, one last thing I got on this page is don't jump out of an airplane without a parachute. I've seen that joke before. There's a meme about it. And they say, unless it's already sitting on the ground. So you got to have that knowledge. So one of the things you have to think about is what is your strength in real estate? Especially if you're just getting into real estate for the first time. I wrote a viral post on Bigger Pockets back in 2019. It was, so what's holding you back in real estate? It had thousands of comments. It was pretty cool. Brandon Turner actually mentioned me on one of his podcasts at one point. And you need to have one strength. What happened is that a lot of people gave a lot of reasons why they weren't successful. Some of them ended up being, we'll call them excuses. And out of all the answers that I was banging out by typing it, I ended up coming what I call the 3-legged stool approach. And the 3 legs of the stool with real estate is you have to have a decent amount of money, you have to have a decent amount of experience, or you have to have a decent amount of time. And eventually I added like a 4th one. I added like a seat on the top of that stool. You have to be a great networker. So you do not need to be all of these to be good at real estate. You just need to find one that you're good at. Okay? So if somebody has a ton of money, maybe they're out there giving out hard money loans in real estate. If someone has a ton of experience, maybe they're out there rehabbing their own properties. Someone has a ton of time. Maybe they're out there wholesaling, or maybe they're just educating themselves. These are all good examples of how to get better at real estate. Try to get stronger at one of these things. Okay, I am very lucky that I am a good networker. So I've been very blessed that most of the deals that I get nowadays, people call me to be a part of them. I try to be good to people. I try to be very easy as a partner. And that's why I get a lot of phone calls. Every deal that I've done this year has been by somebody picking up the phone and calling me or sending me an email. So what do I get to do now? Like I said, previously I was working 7 days a week. And for those of you that don't understand when I say 7 days a week, my part-time job, I was working Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday most of the day, Sunday most of the day, and Tuesday night. When I was teaching, I was working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, obviously. What do I get to do now? On weekends, I spend more time with the family. We did soccer practice and soccer games on Saturday morning. Saturday night, we went to see the car racing. I sent a picture to a couple of my friends, Angel on the call, stuff like that. What do I do during the day? I look at new deals, people that email me stuff. I get to either do lunches or breakfast, networking, some phone calls. I have a few students for coaching, syndications, and I get to work on my side businesses, whether it's calling one of my virtual assistants in the Philippines to get an update of how we're doing with new interviews or the syndications, or calling Pedro for the hotel, stuff like that. At night, besides hanging out and talking to groups like this, or I have real estate meetings twice a month that I run myself, driving the kids to events. We went to the football game on Friday night. My oldest plays in the marching band. That was the first time I've been to one of the high school football games. By the way, I graduated from that high school. First time I've been in at least, maybe the second time I've been in a decade. Because every Friday night I always worked. Cooking, that was for you. Lawrence, sometimes I'm hanging out. We'll call and I'll be cooking or something, or watching a movie, playing an online game, etc. This is the hotel. Tell you a little bit about it. What we did is I was at a conference in October in Dallas. Got to meet Kay Trevor there. Talked to Angel a little bit. And what was really cool was that I talked to my partner Pedro into going to the conference, and we met a guy that bought hotels for a living. And Pedro had his real estate license in Punta Cana. He's Dominican. He's from Rhode Island, but his parents are Dominican. And he said, you know what? I'll go to the Punta Cana and I'll look for hotels for this guy that we met. And so he was there for like a month, sending deals out, looking at opportunities. And, we talk every once in a while because we already own a business together. And he says, you know something, Frank? He says, I could see owning a property in my home country someday, in my parents' home country someday. I said, Pedro, what are you talking about? We could do it now. He says, you think so? I said, yeah. So he started looking at hotels, and we bought this beautiful small boutique hotel, 16 units, 4-minute walk to the water, and tons of different pictures here. The second picture, that's a picture of some salmon and rice, guadules. There's the little beans that are with it. This is a picture of some of the employees at the hotel. I took them out when I was there. I went to visit in July, and I took them out to the best club I could find and took care of them. I was very happy. They were very happy. This is one of our, this is the name of the hotel, obviously, Bella Vita Hotel. Bella Vita means a beautiful life. We actually own that under the umbrella, Best Resorts Punta Cana, which is our American business, and it's also our website, and you can do excursions through and everything else. Here's us going out to one of the beaches. This is me having breakfast. This is just one of the hotel rooms. This is the burger of the house, and this is one of the bathrooms. So obviously really proud of that right now. It's been a struggle. I've learned a lot. I would say that I should not have started just gangbusters into the hotel business, but you know what? When you do stuff like that, you really learn quickly. And I can afford it. I'm learning a lot, and we'll make it grow. And hopefully within a year or two, we'll be buying the next one. So not giving up on it. Let's put it that way. And that's about it for me. I mean, I can definitely take questions. We can hang out. But thanks for even letting me tell my story there, Lawrence.
Thank you, Frank. That was a great presentation, man. I didn't know about all that cooking you do.
I thought about showing some pictures of me cooking, but you know, there's so much time I spend into this. I kept deleting slides and trying to make something really good that'd be valuable for everybody.
Well, I appreciate that. Can you end the
Yeah, definitely. Let me see. How do we do this? How do we end the share? Do you know?
Stop share.
Stop share. There we go.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation, Frank. Little tidbits of information that everybody could get. There's a lot of things you said in there. You know, you said about habits, goals, and even when you talk about jumping out of the plane on the ground, make sure you have the knowledge of where you're at, right? So I'm gonna ask one question, anybody can jump in. One question. What made you want to get started in real estate?
What made me start getting into real estate? My grandparents owned a couple small properties, and my dad took them over, but he wasn't that good at it. And I mean, when he passed away, we owned 2 small commercial buildings and 3 single families and 1 duplex. And people screwed him in many ways. And he didn't have education. He was experienced. He did all the hand labor himself. He did the work, and I love him. I appreciate him. I mean, he definitely was a hard worker, but he wanted me to go and get that real job, that college education. And obviously, there's benefits to that, but it just was another way for me to grow.
Thank you. So, does anybody have a question for Frank?
Angel just wrote, "What was a W-2 job?" So I worked at Sam's Club. I started working there when I was 18 years old. And I literally left in June after 25 and a half years with the company. What happened was I asked for time off, and I guess I asked for too much time off because you know how short-handed they are. So I actually spent a week at a conference in Utah and got to hang out with Troy and some of my other friends out there. And I also asked for a week off the last week of June, the first week of July, and they started denying all the days. And it's like, I wouldn't say the store manager just was not happy with me. And what really happened was he said to the assistant manager, he wouldn't talk to me because I wouldn't kiss his butt. You know, I didn't need the job. They were lucky I worked there, stuff like that. I was top step. I made more money than anybody else in the department, and I couldn't get a raise. And I didn't need the job. I made more money coaching than I did working. I made 10 times as much coaching than I did working there. 10 times an hour more. And just craziness. So basically the assistant manager said, well, the manager just wants to know, are you still committed to working here? And I said, committed. I laughed. I said, do you know how hard it is for me to squeeze you guys into my schedule in my life? You know? So at that point, the next day I put in a 2-week notice. And I refused to miss any days on the way out the door. I was going to go out the right way.
Nice, nice. I like the story, Frank. I like the story, but I also like the story of your father, because I can ID with you because my father had private too, but there's no information. There's no information, you know. Anyone else has a question?
There are questions in the chat. I'm going to look through them real quick.
Okay. Are the employee friends still in your circle? What was it like making new friends? Or did the old friends come along investing in real estate?
So let's see. If I think of those first 5 friends,
Mhm.
I would say that I'm still friendly with them, but they did not necessarily grow with me.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. When I consider those 5 friends, one of them is my father-in-law. So I see him every week, and I love him. But he was just one of those top 5 friends. And another one, when we started the Cash Flow Kings, we put on a big event. We had like 60, 70 people in a room, and we actually called it, "So What's Holding You Back in Real Estate?" based on that viral post. And I actually invited for free one of those friends in to come and learn about real estate, and he did come. And I mean, I talked to him 2 or 3 times a year, and I still love the guy. But it's another one of my favorite quotes is, "You can bring a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink." You know? So even though I gave him all the free advice, maybe at some point he'll be ready, but it just wasn't his time.
Mhm.
And he knows, and I love him, and we'll go out to lunch like once a year. Whenever he's ready, I'll be there.
And the second question is, you did talk about not being handy, right? So the first 3 properties, this is from Hattie. He
Yep.
says, for the first 3 properties, do you just call someone when something breaks, or do you have a property? Did you have a property manager?
I did not have a property manager to start. I was working the 2 jobs. I basically asked the person that my agent, who was part of the RIA, I asked them for a recommendation for a handyman / contractor. And that became my main guy. And he helped me with a lot of stuff. And eventually, while I love him, and one way or another, I outgrew him. So we moved on to the next guy who I'm still friends with. That handyman contractor was so good to me, and I was so good to him, that we actually bought a duplex together. And he didn't put any money up, but he put in the time, and then I eventually sold it to him at a discount. And we're still friends. I actually called him before this. You know, and then after the second one, after I outgrew that person, then I went with property management. But while I love property managers, they're never going to do as good of a job as you are, but you still can't do it all yourself because there's no way to scale. I mean, maybe if you hire your own in-person property management team, but besides that, if it's still talking about the smaller stuff, you know, you can only go so far.
Right. I have a question, Frank. You talking about reading? You talking about reading books? Like you read 15 books in 1 year, right? Now, some people say you should read the same books over and over again, right? What are your thought process on that? Should you read the same books or read different books throughout the whole year?
So I definitely don't read the same books over and over again, though there are certain books that I have to try to read once a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that there's always new content and fresh content out there. And there's authors that I love that are putting out new things. So I have to go to their new books as well. But I mean, there are certain books that I'll read, if not every year, but at least go back to and read, you know, since I started reading a lot, maybe 4 times or 5 times. But for me, you could do that, and you will get new stuff every time you read it, but I've just never really thought of it that way. I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad I probably read 6 or 7 times.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Matt. I thought you said
I do. I was just typing it in. So I just want to know, Frank, you talk about habits. I love that bit about habits. That's great. So I just was curious, what was the hardest habit that you had to drop, and what was the hardest habit that you actually had to incorporate into your daily, weekly life?
So the hardest habit that I've dropped recently was that for a while, I figured that with my oldest, we would spend like an hour every night watching a movie or watching TV. And it just got so busy that was a tough thing that I decided to drop. There's other ways to spend time with her than just watching things that are meaningless. So there was other things I try to do instead. It's not perfect, but that was pretty hard. I remember when I was dieting, I did the keto diet, and my wife and kids were completely shocked at how I shut off everything. And they couldn't believe it. They're like, aren't you worried about us eating in front of you? I said, no, this is a choice thing. This is my choice. I choose to do it. You can put anything in front of me. If I'm choosing to do it, I'm doing it. You know?
Cool, love that. Not easy losing weight.
No, I have to go back to it again. But I've been able to do it, and I'll do it again. So
Okay.
I'm sure you
Success.
can, Frank, because your habits is impeccable. Your habits are impeccable. All right. And are there any more questions?
Bright asked, what's the focus of your coaching program?
Okay.
So I'm actually one of the Rod Cleef coaches. He does multifamily syndications. That's the main way in which I would do coaching. I do have other people that I mentor, and I could definitely have a chat with you for different options. But it's mostly the concept of multifamily real estate investing.
Okay, Angel put a question here. Knowing your age. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a question.
He's busting on me. Or maybe yourself. He says, at my age, even though I've lost before, it's a whole different experience. So Angel, I know we're recording, but I'll tell you a secret anyway. I actually had my thyroid removed in the year 2000. So I actually have a pretty poor metabolism. You know?
Just have to one-up me.
No problem. Anytime you got a deal, you want me to one up you let me know. We'll have another competition for fundraising.
There you go.
Hey,
Same
we
here.
wound up coming out on that one okay.
Heck yeah, good team.
Frank, I want to say thank you for coming on Financial Independence through Small Multifamily Investing. It was a fantastic presentation. Anybody, if you didn't get it, because there's some hidden nuggets thrown at you, right? There's some darts thrown at me also, right? But I got them, right? I wrote them down. So thank you again, Frank, for taking time for your family, and just bestowing us with all knowledge and your knowledge and experience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, I thank everybody for coming on Financial Independence to Small Multifamily Investing. We are on every Tuesday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you again.